Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more Heroes of the Storm. Now normally when a new hero gets released in the game, I go ahead and play a game immediately and I try and record at the same time and obviously try and explain to you the abilities and the talents and whatnot that are going on in game. Now as you may have imagined, I'm a guy, I can most of the time only do one thing at the same time, and I usually have to record those videos like 4, 5, 6 times before I actually get a proper recording, because playing and commentary at the same time is difficult as it is, let alone explain stuff at the same time as well. Now, Greymane is now available, the Lord of the Worgen, and he's relatively complicated, so I figured, why not try a little bit of something else? So in this video, I'm gonna try and explain to you the abilities, the talents, we're gonna do a bit of theory crafting as well, and I'm just gonna try and give you a solid introduction on the character instead, and we'll be doing so in try mode. Now real quick, as far as the hero goes in the store, he is 10 bucks in total if you do want to go ahead and purchase him, or he's 15,000 gold, that will go down to 10,000 gold within a couple weeks. There's also a bundle available that's actually 20 bucks. There's no bundle available with just the hero and the skin, but this time around you also get the mount with it, and it's actually kind of pricey, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, here we are in try mode. Now, the most complicated thing about this hero is the fact that he has a lot of different abilities due to the fact that he can switch from being a human into a Worgen. Obviously, if you know the curse of the Worgen, it is going to be very, very similar to the lore right there. But my E ability is going to be all about that. So I can attack normally, be a human, and just use this ranged attack right here on the pistol that I have. By the way, he also has a sword that he literally never ever uses as far as I'm aware. But you can use the human form to basically attack from a distance and do damage to targets that way. Now as you can see, at this level 20 right here without any talents, I do 303 attack damage. However, activating my E ability, which I can only do when I have a target to hatch onto, I turn into a Worgen. As you can see, my damage is actually 40% higher. And I don't know if I attack any faster. I think it's actually the exact same attack speed as well. We could technically check that out, but it's not really important right here. Basically, what it is all about is switching between a Worgen and switching between a human. Sometimes you can disengage very easily, still finish off a target without them being in range of you, or you can jump at a target, obviously close the distance between you and him, nuke them down really, really quickly with this, you know, increased damage that you get from being a Worgen, and then obviously disengage again to safety. Now, since we are going to be a melee and a ranged assassin as once, or at like the same point, it's obviously going to be the case as well that we are a very low HP character. This character is extremely flimsy, you die extremely quickly as well, and a couple of the talent choices that I will be recommending in this video are gonna be all about that. But anyways, so I got, first off, Darkflight, and then I also have, I believe, disengage. Yeah, so Darkflight is the ability when you're going from a human into a Worgen, and then we have disengage when you go from a Worgen into a human. So the Worgen is going to be for melee attacks, deals 40% extra damage, and then we have the human that deals obviously range damage, but doesn't do as much. Now, both of the forms also obviously have a Q ability and a W ability. The W ability is actually the same. The Q ability, however, is a little bit different. So, the Q ability is pretty interesting. It's this skill shot in a line. If you mouse over, though, you'll see very quickly what happens. So, I'll toggle off the cooldowns here so I can just spam it a bunch. If I just simply throw it and I don't hit anything, as you can see, things become a little bit messy because I literally do no damage here at all. Now, if, for example, I would hit a target, like in this case. Oh, actually, I didn't hit it. There we go. I hit the target. You can see the little bottle that I'm throwing, that the Gilnean Cocktail here, the cocktail that I'm throwing, will actually explode and deal splash damage to the enemies that are behind that, you know, target that is being hit. And obviously, that means that we can do quite a bunch of damage immediately to a whole bunch of, enemies at once, which is obviously very powerful. Now, once we're in Worgen form, the Q ability actually changes. It's still like a splash damage type thing. However, this time around, you dash forward and you do splash damage to anyone that is hit within that radius. So, obviously, I don't have any cooldowns on right now, but you can do a lot of damage with that ability as well. Now, oftentimes, you will find yourself being human, for example, here, throwing in the Gilnean Cocktail, jumping in with that ability, and then adding on the Q. At least that's, you know, how I've been playing it a lot. And there's a lot of, like, mobility and shape-shifting that you can do. Now, even at level 20, without any level or any talents taken, you can see this camp is still absolutely dominating me. So, flimsy for certain. Now, the W ability, though, is the bread and butter and the main skill, I suppose, when it comes to playing this hero. It's going to be Inner Beast. An Inner Beast increases your attack speed by 50%. For a couple of seconds. Now, it's very important to note that this cooldown only actually goes off. So after a couple seconds here, you can see the timer. it only goes off if you don't hit anyone for 3 seconds. Now, if you keep on attacking, you'll basically always be fighting 50% faster, and your attacks, your basic attacks, will always be 50% faster. This goes for both human form as well as like Worgen form. I can dash in and out, switch between the two, obviously become Worgen again. As you can see, the hit combo just keeps going up. Now, the hit combo doesn't actually achieve anything. As you can see, by the way, without any talent spent, for example, if I'm flying here and I'm jumping towards the target, the Q ability is not regarded as a hit. It only goes as a basic attack. So basically, what you want to try and do is make sure you're always in the thick of combat. You want to make sure you stay alive, however, as well, because that way your inner beast will be able to trigger more often. But because you're going to be very low in HP, you got to be very careful. So those are the basic abilities that I got. Now, Inner Beast, I believe it's called the exact same thing when you're in Worgen form as well. Yep. Then we have the Razor Swipe. You can disengage, and then you have the Gilnean Cocktail again. Now, the trait, nothing too special here. It just explains that you have the human form and the Worgen form, that the Worgen form does more damage. Now, let's just very quickly go to level 10 as well, just so I can show you the different heroic abilities. Both are actually pretty powerful. I would say Go for the Throat is a little bit better. So Mark for Kill. Well, just give this one out to try first. So basically, this one is great if you're focusing a lot on human play. It feels a little bit like the Tyrande hero power, or like not the Tyrande hero power, the Tyrande passive, where you can obviously mark someone and they take increased damage. It's sort of a little bit the same, but this time around you can basically use it as a skill shot. So I need to shoot it right there. If I then activate the ability again, I will jump straight to them and turn into a Worgen, obviously do a lot of increased damage. Now, this is a very difficult ability to go for, because I found it to be, the skill shot is so small, and since the travel time, let me showcase to you the travel time. Obviously there's a 60-second cooldown, by the way, but the travel time, look at this. People can relatively easily dodge it, and most of the time I find myself missing it. Now, that's obviously just gonna be a straight up, issue for me being a absolute, terrible aimer or whatever, but most of the time you gotta be very careful in using that ultimate. So if you aren't too certain, I'm gonna reset my talents here. You can also go for the Throat, and Go for the Throat is basically a splash damage type thing. Or not a splash damage type thing, it basically is a burst damage type thing, where if I toggle the heroes right now, and the minions as well, I can activate the Go for the Throat right from the get-go. So if I toggle the cooldowns right now, this is normal. If I immediately activate it on a hero, you'll see it does a bunch of splash damage to him, or like a bunch of damage to him, and he obviously, then triggers the cooldown on my ultimate as well. Now, the range is quite long, so you can see I can jump on a hero from a long distance. However, the real strength of this ability comes when you, let me toggle the cooldown once again, comes when you actually use it on a hero that is at low HP. So we'll bring down this hero to low HP here. I want him to go back because I don't want to take him out, obviously. When we get him to low HP, you'll see very shortly that he gets a little icon above his head. This is the icon I'm talking about. This basically means that if I now activate my heroic on him, it will immediately re-trigger the cooldown. So what I can do is basically hatch onto Arthas right there, kill him with the R ability, which is then going to be a one-shot, and I will then get another cooldown for free. So I actually can't catch him right now. There we go. And I immediately get another free Go for the Throat, which obviously makes it a lot stronger. You can queue it up for quite a lot. Now, this is the main reason why this guy can go completely out of control. You can do continuous amounts of damage with the W ability, and obviously you can just sort of keep on pushing them, be very, very aggressive, nuke down targets, jump in between targets, and just nuke down people from relatively high HP to 0 in just a matter of seconds. I've actually won a lot of duels with people such as Vala, such as Janas, that aren't very used to getting out DPS. Now, with a hero like Kiltas, it's a little scarier because he can, use his E ability and sort of throw you up in the air. But anyways, so if you're not certain what heroic to go for, I would recommend going for Go for the Throat. Now, when choosing talents, and we'll go a little bit more in depth right here on the talent tiers. When choosing talents, you have a couple of different options what you can go for, but I would say make the decision whether or not you want to go full human form or if you want to go full Worgen form at the beginning of the match. So have a look at like your opponents, see what is going on there, see what they are choosing, and, you know, make a choice. Make a choice of what you want to be running for. Now, obviously, since the hero is just now released, there is no like ideal or like perfect talent build yet, but we can definitely sort of grade the different talents for certain. So I would say at level 1 there are 2 great options. First off, there's Wolfheart, which actually basically makes it so that you can use your W ability more often, which has a 16-second cooldown by default. Perfect Aim is also very useful if you're, for example, laning against another hero that is also ranged. So increases Gilnean's Cocktail range and refunds mana against heroes. So I can use this to basically increase the range of my Gilnean Cocktail, and that basically means that I can just keep on pushing back. Like, for example, if you're laning on the Cursed Hollow versus that killed us, you can just keep on pushing them back, whereas with the Wolfheart, you wouldn't be able to achieve too much. In all other situations, I would be going with Wolfheart pretty much every single time. Just because it's super powerful. I would say the Scented Tincture is probably the most useless talent that this guy has. Since we're super low in HP, getting a reveal on, for example, a Zeratul or a Nova isn't really gonna matter all too much. Like, you may reveal them and you may make it a little easier for your Q to connect with them or whatever, but most of the time you're still gonna die if a Zeratul is close enough to you to actually, you know, get hit by this. So I would recommend just keeping an eye out instead on the positioning of the different heroes and go for a Wolfheart or Perfect Aim. Viciousness increases the inner beast duration and the abilities refresh the cooldown of it as well. So, or like the duration of it as well. So if you choose this one, you can go ahead and use the W ability more often, or at least like be in that mode more often. I would say though Wolfheart is just a little bit more clear cut, and it actually significantly reduces the cooldown of it. Now, one important thing to note about the inner beast is that if you use it, the cooldown only gets triggered after you lose the combinations, right? So right now I'm not in a 16-second cooldown. It only gets triggered right now. So at this point, actually, it's a little bit lower because I already hit him a bunch. But you gotta make sure that you are aware of that. So it doesn't start, you know, the cooldown while you're still in inner beastie. You can sort of queue them. But as long as you're attacking while Wolfheart is up, you can oftentimes just simply find yourself continuously having inner beast up. Level 4. Level 4 is not all that powerful. At level 4 we got a couple of different ones. The ones that I have been messing around with for the most part is just to get a bit more sustain. So Thick Skin allows you to basically take a little bit more damage after activating the Darkflight ability, which turns you into a Worgen. So if I hatch onto like an enemy right here, I will take a little bit less damage from the next 2 heroic basic attacks, which is alright. Eyes in the Dark is also pretty powerful, as it basically gives you a way to always get out of trouble. So it's actually a 4-second stealth timing. So while, let's say I'm fighting right here, let me toggle the cooldowns real quick. Actually, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm fighting right here, I need to get out of trouble. If I have the Eyes in the Dark talent, I can run away and actually be stealthed for a full 4 seconds. Now, 4 seconds is a pretty long amount of time, and it usually will allow you to get out of trouble. Insatiable, Inner Beast causes basic attacks to restore mana. I haven't found myself to run out of mana too much yet. Maybe if you're a very good player on Greymane and you won't go down as much as I have been. This may be a good option as well, but I would go probably for a little bit more survivability. Now, one of the things you can be running as well is, for example, go for the Perfect Aim and then also follow it up with the Draught Overflow and just sort of focus a lot on the human form and, you know, basically be a ranged assassin at that point. I wouldn't recommend it as the damage output is significantly lower, so most of the time I think you want to be sticking with either Thick Skin or Eyes in the Dark. Probably Thick Skin is the most safe, well-round option here. One thing to note as well that I found out the hard way myself is that if you activate the Darkflight ability, it actually then triggers the cooldown of the disengage. So if you go with the Eyes in the Dark, it's not like you can jump in and then immediately disengage again, because obviously there's still going to be a cooldown right there as well. So there's always going to be a 6-second cooldown to switch from a Worgen into a human, as well as from a human into a Worgen. At level 7, things become a little bit more interesting. So right here, Wizened Duelist is a very, very powerful talent. Hero takedowns increase the basic attack damage by 3% to a maximum of 30, and this bonus is lost on death. Now, this obviously is the main reason why you don't want to go down as a Greymane player. If you can make sure that you don't go down and you're trusting your ability to not fall, this can stack up to a huge amount of damage. This counts for both like human as well as like, you know, Worgen kills. So it's not like you need to make sure you're on Worgen form or whatever to make sure that it triggers. 30% extra attack speed or attack damage is absolutely enormous. Like this can easily make you the strongest character in the game. However, if you're not completely convinced about the amount that you can do, I would say go for the Quicksilver bullets. It increases the attack range of my basic attacks. So we can actually showcase it right here. It increases the basic attack range of the Quicksilver bullets by 20%. So, or like of my basic attack here. So right now I'm standing, I don't know, right at the end of the shadow. If I activate this ability and I then attack move, I actually have a little bit more range. Now, it may not seem very significant, but oftentimes it means that you can sort of kite heroes a lot easier and just keep on attacking and moving back and making sure that you know, pick off heroes from a distance. Now, obviously, Wizened Duelist is going to be the superior choice if you don't go down, which is one of the main reasons why I've been going for something like Wolfheart right here, Thick Skin right here, and then Wizened Duelist here, just to make sure that I stay alive for a longer amount of time, so I can start building up those stacks. Now at level 10, oh by the way, the other level 7 talent I haven't actually messed around with yet. This technically is good if you are scared of like not hitting this ability in the first place and not shooting blanks, I suppose. But I don't think it stacks up to the other two. Level 10, like I mentioned, Go for the Throat seems a little bit more powerful. It just has a lot more fluidity in there, whereas Mark for the Kill is relatively easy to dodge and relatively easy to miss as well. So Go for the Throat seems to be a bit better. Now, level 13 is where we get some great options. Running Wild is one of the things that I see a lot of people take. Running Wild increases the range of my E ability by a lot. So if I choose it right here, I can go ahead and basically jump at heroes from much, you know, further distance, which oftentimes in realistic game scenarios allows you to pick off heroes with relative ease, and then you can also roll out a little bit further away. Now, if you would stack that with, for example, the Eyes in the Dark, obviously you have a way to get out of trouble very quickly as well as to get into trouble very quickly. The other options, let me reset it once again. We'll go Wolfheart, Thick Skin, Wizened, Go for the Throat. The other options would be physical attacks. Basic attacks reduce the razor swipe cooldown. Technically very good, but I would say on the Prowl is most of the time gonna be your best option. So since with the Wolfheart talent, since most of the time you will have your inner beast up, after 3 seconds you will get an additional 30% movement speed. And as you may know, movement speed is usually going to be everything. So I like going for on the Prowl here. Let me showcase to you how much 30% movement speed is. It's not like, you know, I will activate a W ability here, so 3 seconds. And here we go. Should be triggering right about right now. Yeah, there we go. You don't actually see it when you're standing still. But you can see like there's quite a significant movement speed increase. And since you're flimsy as it is, you can oftentimes make use of this to get out of trouble. So let's see. Oh shit, the fight is going south right now. I can just simply, you know, get out of trouble again. It also actually works when you're in the Worgen form. So let's say you're trying to chase someone down. It allows you to actually chase them down, whereas normally you'd be reliant on your Q abilities to sort of dash forward or to use your E ability to finish them off. The On the Prowl really does make it super good. Unfettered Assault I haven't messed around with yet. It technically is a good talent as well, but I don't think it will stack up to something like On the Prowl. Level 16. So level 16 is where there's also a couple different options. A lot of people seem to be running Executioner for whatever reason. A lot of people are also running the Relentless Predator, however, but the Alpha Killer is also extremely powerful. So let's have a quick look here. So Executioner, most of you will know, Concentrated Blast will increase the damage of my Q ability while the W is up in human form, which once again I wouldn't recommend if you're looking to put out a lot of damage, as you're gonna be relatively flimsy anyway. So I would go for either the Relentless Predator or the Alpha Killer. Now, since we're very low in HP, oftentimes we get nuked down and CC'd very easily. Relentless Predator will basically reduce all kinds of CC by 75% for the duration. Now, that's kind of a lot. That is kind of a lot, but in realistic scenarios, I find myself to still go down, even with 25% of the duration, just because we are so flimsy. Now, this is obviously a good point, especially if you're going for the Wizened Duelist talent at level 7, because it will give you more sustain, and dying will be a whole lot less scary. You can also go ahead and pick the Alpha Killer here. Worgen basic attacks against heroes deal bonus damage equal to 3% of the hero's maximum health. As you can see, this is like a giant killer on crack. Extremely powerful. Very, very strong talent. But it's basically a toss-up, I would say, between the Relentless Predator as well as the Alpha Killer. Now, if you're gonna go ahead and pick the Alpha Killer, I would probably go ahead and also pick the Quicksilver Bullet at level 7. Although, obviously, if you're, you know, confident in your ability to not die, the Alpha Killer in combination with the Wizened Duelist is absolutely insane. So it sort of depends on where you're at in the game, depends on how many CCers they have. Like if they only have a Muradin or whatever, obviously Relentless Predator is probably gonna not change that many situations anyway, because hey, you're gonna be stunned and people will be able to catch up to you either way. So Alpha Killer, probably going to be the go-to choice. At level 20, we do have a couple different ones. So we got Unleashed. Now, obviously we also have the Gilnean Roulette, which basically makes the other ultimate a little more powerful. I actually didn't mean to click that. But anyway, Unleashed. Free cast kills also gives free cast. Wait, free cast kills also give free cast. So basically that means you can continue on with your Qs on the R ability. In most realistic scenarios, it's not gonna give you all too much. Human basic attack splash, not the talent I would be going for either, because we have spec this much into Worgen here anyway. So most of the time, you would be going for the Tooth and Claw. Worgen's basic attacks cleave. So let me try and showcase that to you. Reset the talents here. We're toggle minions as well. I'll go ahead and just pick the relatively standard build, or at least the one that I would likely be picking. So we'll go for the Quicksilver Bullets here. Go for the Throat. Pick on the Prowl. Go ahead and pick the Alpha Killer and then the Tooth and Claw. So look at the splash damage here. We'll let them clean up the minion wave first off. But basically my basic attacks while in Worgen form will now be cleaving. So I'll start target firing down Artis here. I'll turn into a Worgen. You can see the splash damage that we do is actually substantial. Like, it actually does a lot. This will increase by far, most of the time at least, your damage. Like, it gives you a ton of extra sustain, and most of the time, obviously, in combination with your inner beast, it just stacks up super, super quickly. And since that, like, right now a default attack, it's stupidly powerful. Stupidly powerful. So I hope this basically introduced everything that you wanted to know about Greymane. Very powerful character, very versatile, and very difficult to play as well, as there are so many different options. I mean, technically speaking, you could, for example, go for talents that focus purely on the human form, where you just simply, you know, just play completely in the human form and only really use the E ability to finish off heroes. You could be going for, well, for example, something like this, which will now also actually give me splash damage while in human form. I guess I can showcase that real quick as well. You can see that damage is insane. If you get to that point, I mean, that is so stupidly powerful. You can do so much damage with it. However, getting to that point seems to be, you know, the more complicated bit, and then also hitting the mark for kill is also, you know, a pretty difficult treat. Now, one of the things we may actually see, at least once the pro gamers hatch onto this, is like a combination between the human form and the Worgen form, which I wouldn't be too surprised about because they both obviously have their advantages, but I guess we'll have to see exactly what that is going to be like. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know what you think of these kind of videos down below in the comment section of it, so I know whether or not I should be making more once new heroes come out as well. But these are my thoughts. This is a quick introduction on Greymane, and I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!